Teresa Cox, City of Springfield.
Ralph Hammond, City of Springfield.
Daryl Boudreaux, Northwest Florida Water Management District.
Pat Perno, City of Lynn Haven, Commissioner.
This meeting is being recorded.
Brian Rossi with the Estuary Program.
All right, and we'll go online. So we know we've got Bill and Tom. Katrina? Katrina? Okay. Katrina Martin, she's with U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. Hal?
Hal Beardall, the director of the Consensus Center.
Thanks for joining, Hal. Miss ya.
Just keeping track of you guys.
Keeping your eyes on us. And then we had Angela. She might pop back in. She was trying to do some dual Zoom meetings. All right. Well, let me get sharing my screen. So we'll try to move quickly, but I definitely don't want to stifle conversation. But we might actually take it out of here before 2 hours is up.
Challenge accepted.
Yeah. Okay, so first thing I want to make sure that I remind everyone about, so we've got a couple different items. Introductions were good. We have some action items. We will hit those first, and then look at a couple other of the components of the CCMP, and then get some updates. Reminder that we are under sunshine. So our estuary program, so you guys have sunshine with your organizations, we are also under sunshine as a board. So just a reminder of that, we've had a few new members, just want to make sure everyone understands that this board does fall under sunshine. We do have a new member. She did call and say she wasn't going to be able to make it today, but Linda Hamilton is now the next Beach rep. They've had a lot of changes. Linda is one of the new council members that has been elected, and so we look forward to meeting her next time. And if you've just joined online, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself. There's a 505 phone number.
This is Katrina Martin. I'm having technical difficulties. I can't hear on my computer, so I also called in.
Okay, thanks for joining us and working through those. Okay, so back in November or so, you guys approved an outline. We've been tweaking the flow of the outline, but nothing's been removed. Just as we're putting meat to the bones, it's flowing better a little bit differently. Primarily, we've been focused on one section with these action plans, and so we want to get that done and approved, and then move forward with the rest of the components or sections. So far we have done our focus areas, desired outcomes, what do we want out of all of this, the goals and actions, and built those into action plans. Our last meeting, you guys did natural resources and species conservation, resiliency, and goals 1 and 2 of stewardship. So today, you're going to be looking at the rest, and this is just a reminder of how to read through these. The action plans are supposed to give you that, why do we need to do this, what are we going to do, how, what's our return on investment, who are we going to work with, and where the money can come from. So they're meant to be sort of specific yet opportunistic. So allowing for opportunity to come and us to be able to respond to that, that's specific enough that people know how to get engaged. So moving into our first action, you approved natural resources and species conservation last time. After talking with the STEM committee, we identified some redundancies that we thought we could kind of clean up, and so we're proposing to merge action plans 3.2 with a 4.2 into a final 4.2. And so both of them kind of dealt with BMPs. People were unclear of why one was different than the other. We went through a lot of conversations, and so we landed on merging. And then these are the activities, and that is in your board book on page 11. So as long as y'all are okay with that, that is a,
We need a motion.
I make a motion.
We have a motion.
Second.
We have a second. Motion and a second. Any more discussion? Okay, hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Nays? Go. Move it.
he's like, don't do that, don't even take that out. All right, so, we're having Wi-Fi issues.
Is it not working for them?
No.
It's lit.
With clearly defined investable opportunities that we can then use to go out and seek.
All right, so today we're gonna be looking at water and sediment quality and quantity, and then the
Yep.
last goal for stewardship.
And then you should get a text with a 4-digit code.
These start on page 17 in your board book.
Just to be. Number is this number.
Any comments on any of these actions? I always launch my hotspot too. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I can do it on my.
The internet has been weird. It kicked me off of a webinar 3 times today. Yeah. Yeah.
It let me do it, that's why.
Okay. Any comments, questions? We are ready for approval. Two action plans.
So I've just, you've got my comments on
Yeah,
these, so.
yeah.
I mean,
Those were just kind of edits, small
Okay.
grammar edits, nothing major.
Okay.
Move to approve.
Question?
Second.
We have a second. Motion and a second. Any more discussion? Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any noes?
All right. Those are our actions that require quorum. I know Bill is dealing with multiple things down in Orlando. Okay, so next, moving into finance strategy. So this is, I really wanted to just have more discussion about finances. So the finance strategy starts on page 40. I kind of pulled out a few things to talk about here. So on page 41 is table 2. This outlines the funding prospects is what I called it. Well, yeah, because some of it is secured in the bank, some of it is selected but not in the bank. Some of it we're still waiting for final treasury approval, so we've been selected, but it's not in agreement yet, so that's why I say prospects. So we've been pretty successful. We're close to about 3 million, or just over 3 million coming in, so pretty good for 2 years. I'm getting that more. Then I went into these operating cost estimates. So I had a table in there originally, but the management council is like, look, this doesn't really get to the core question of what bare minimum do we need to keep this program running. ideally keeping staff, like the 3 primary staff or 3.5 primary staff on non-grant funds eventually. And so that's why I sort of put in like a continuum of, you know, at a bare minimum to have a full-time executive director, half-time scientist, and half-time outreach specialist. That's $315,000. That doesn't have supplies, that doesn't have travel, that is just staff time with indirects. And so, as we go through, we add travel and supplies, we go up the continuum. And then, if we wanna have a full-time executive director, full-time scientist, full-time outreach specialist, and a half-time assistant, technical assistant, and travel and supplies, we're a little over $500,000. So trying to get to that, and, you know, they talked about it as a nucleus. So what's the nucleus funding needed in order to keep this program moving forward and keep the projects that we're identifying moving forward? Comments?
What's the timeline on your funding? I mean, how far out does it go?
Right now, we are funded for sure through July or June 2024. Then we have partial funding beyond that. And so that gets
I think it
into,
was October-ish,
yeah,
I was reading,
yeah. And so,
of 24.
right. I can skip ahead. This is the other thing that I put together is, looking at fiscal year 2024, 25, and then I broke it down into staff position, and then grant and general fund is what I'm calling unobligated funds.
Mm-hmm.
So if we are 80%, like my position's 80% funded through grants, then we would need 20% general funds. Scientist is funded 90% through grants, we would need 10% general. And the outreach specialist would have to be 100%, we don't have, and then,
So without reinventing the wheel, what do other programs do to fund, and how is it done?
so, a lot of grants, municipalities put in funds, they have some donations, corporation donations as well, fundraising ideas, some of them do license plate, things, which I have explored with the other 2 estuary programs to the west of us, to
Yeah.
try to do a panhandle-wide
Right.
one.
Indian River Lagoon did.
Mhm. Yes, and that has been talked about a lot with,
Got a big old picture of a snook on it.
yeah. Well, and then Tom Putnam said that they did a statewide one, they get $500,000 annually from it, that's statewide. I did look into what it takes, and so it's now, it has to be sponsored by a senator, someone, House and Senate, basically, and then approved by the governor. And it basically says they will not have more than, I think, 315 specialty license plates. 35, I don't know, some mixture of those numbers.
They're close, as many as they have.
Yeah, so basically they have to take some out in
Yeah.
order to allocate some in.
All out of rotation.
Yeah, so and then you have to sell 1,000, or you get on probation if you sell less than 1,000 for 12 consecutive months. So it's a bit of a lift, it's not gonna be something that is going to happen quickly, but that has been discussed a lot at the management council and city level.
What
Yeah,
kind of revenue does that build? I know how many, depends on how many are sold, but like per plate, how much would come to the?
I don't remember, I think it actually varies. So
Okay.
certain ones get more than other ones, I believe, so like some of the vet ones will get $4 or $5 per plate, and then some of the other ones are less, but I didn't look that detailed into
Okay.
it.
How many, municipalities are involved with I know not many with the estuary program, but that we can reach out for donations to?
So we have 9 municipalities
County itself, or?
in Gulf.
Okay, so,
Yep. But we have 12 seats, so I'm for Bay County. So we have 12 seats minus FSU, that's 11 municipality seats, which is 10 actual municipalities, because Bay County has 2 seats. 10 municipalities in our watershed right now that we've
and,
somewhat engaged
and
with.
3 county governments. Don't count, just municipality, the county is an entity too, correct?
Right, yes, yes.
Bay County, Gulf County.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
That's in that 10.
Okay.
Well, can we, put a letter together and send it out to them? I mean, budget's coming up, and now it's time to,
That's right.
Yeah,
get donations
I mean,
put on the budget.
municipalities donate to the TCO, so,
Okay.
and the county, and,
Yeah, I just need to know what you need from me. I'm scheduled to speak at the Panama City Beach Council and Lynn Haven. I'm
Okay.
scheduled on the 11th, and 13th.
Yeah.
And so trying to at least raise awareness to council. But that's gonna take some time to get on every single,
Sure.
or every single commission.
Yeah, I think if we send out a letter so we can present it to the commission.
Yeah.
yeah, you'd have to have an idea of what they're,
You definitely.
what you're asking for.
County too, and
Mhm.
then present the
Yeah.
county.
Well, and I will say the county is providing funds through sponsoring Restore. So Restore, Bay County is getting us $1.3 million
Right.
over the next 3 years. Now, those aren't unrestricted, but that allows that 80% to be where that 80% is. And I played around with different allocations and appropriation type things, but, I don't know what Minnesota like, so I felt like I was just messing with numbers.
Talk to the mayor of the Springfield.
Yeah.
Plenty of money right there.
Yeah.
So again, going back to what other SRO programs may do, how did the municipalities pull to feed the SRO programs in other areas and regions? Is it done through, I don't know, gas tax, do the municipalities pay through some sort of tax, or,
I think
it's straight general fund? I don't know if it's general fund for every
right.
municipality. There's gotta be a way they can pull, it's a flow through of some
Mhm.
kind.
I think some of it is dues, they'll call it dues, cause they can pay
Okay.
membership dues versus donations, or, however the language needs to be. Some of them may have a tax that will go towards the SRA programs, those tend to be more established SRA programs that,
Right.
had the time to be able to do that, and that's definitely something, long term, we can definitely look at. But the way that, like Pensacola, Perdido, kinda just started with what municipalities were willing to give in the beginning, and then as, you see return on investment, you can increase that allocation. So what we start with now doesn't necessarily have to be what we end with.
Right.
And so, that's kinda why I then projected this out to show, as we would like to get, both the executive director and actuary scientist and outreach specialist further into general funds, that general fund need increases.
Mhm.
And again, that doesn't all have to come from municipalities, that can come from, corporations, businesses that we build a partnership with, but that's where we'll need y'all's connections and introductions to be able to have that conversation. But, yeah, it kind of starts lower of, 47,000 for 24-25, and then can grow from there. And the more it grows, the more we'll be able to keep us off grant deliverable. Cause the more we're on grants, the less we can actually help you. What you need to do.
And there are some grants that have been applied for that would be like general funds.
We didn't get asked.
We didn't get asked for full proposal on that, but we submitted a grant yesterday that hopefully will bring in some funds that will help for the the next year.
Yeah.
What is the fiscal year? Is it the state fiscal year, or you want a separate?
I did state,
Okay, so that's July,
yes,
June to July.
July to June,
July to June,
yeah.
yeah.
But like the Port of Panama City is on federal.
Right, and that's why I was asking,
So
'cause,
I did
yeah,
state
we're on
for
a-
this, yeah. And I did that also because it lines up with our TNC in June of 2024, so it was easy to just start.
Yeah, the other thing is, the first year, y'all had, or Bay County got the legislative allocation, which that Pensacola, Perdido, and St. Andrew, St. Joe went in together and they each got 500,000 3 years ago. Time flies. And then Pensacola, Perdido has been getting that every year. And 250 goes towards a community grant program, so they basically take in money and then they fund projects in the community, which is a really good effort, a good way to build that awareness of the program. And then I think the other 250 they use on special projects. Key with those funds is they're tied to the state fiscal year. So once you find out that, yeah, you're getting it from once the governor signs the budget, you've got not normally a year to spend them, because you don't find out till you're in a couple of months. But that's a great way to kind of get some revenue coming in, and the goal would be, eventually, would be to have those funds just be a line item that either goes through DEP's budget or the Water Management District. And so it's not, because right now it has to go through appropriations and it comes down that way. If it can become part of the agency budget and it's just a line item, then you're not.
That's what we want, is line items.
Right, right.
Yes.
But to do that, and same with EPA funds towards the National Estuary Program, getting the local government buy-in and donations goes a long way in showing and the EPA that the communities are buying into it, are investing in it, and so I think Jessica's done a great job. We've got great membership, and there's lots of projects that are going through this program, so it's clearly passing a lot of those tests in terms of, is the community vested in this program? I think the answer is yes. But having financial contributions coming in, again, helps relief, or provide some of the relief towards having the time that isn't tied to a grant to be able to go after additional funds. So I think it would be a great idea, because I know the budget is starting to come up, to, even if it's just, whatever it is at this point is a good first step.
Well, and the issues are not things that, we can take care of alone. So having that municipal buy-in shows, yes, you agree that these are, priority issues to address, and that your staff and government is working on them just as much as we're identifying them. So we can help with the project identification, figuring out innovative ways to do it, but when it comes to digging a ditch, it's not us, so. I think that's another reason I think it goes so far, is to show that buy-in of, the help of identifying and getting additional grant funds in is what is worth it to you all to be able to keep things going.
We haven't received any funds from.
Not to date.
You mentioned talking to Dan.
That caught with Dan Rowe.
Yeah, and he did have some interest in that one project, the app, and so I haven't followed up with him since my last email of trying to make that happen.
Yeah.
So Phil, does that have to just come through Dan, or can it work at the state level?
A certain amount through Dan, but, how much we can vote on it, or whatever you wanna call it, TDC board, vote on it, and, actually, the budget's coming up for them too, for us, the TDC. I'll work on the TDC side.
You think that's something similar that Jessica need to be pushing the city of Panama City through with Destination Panama City with, Jennifer Vigil?
Jennifer, yes. Yes, most definitely.
And I have had some of those conversations with Gulf County as well, and I think they have a new executive director, so she's still trying to figure everything out, but there was interest in understanding how some of the things that we're working on would be useful for Gulf County, so I
And
do
as
think
far
there's.
as a private partnership, I mean, Burt Pike, we need to hit some of these.
Mhm,
And actually, Port, Panama City,
yeah,
y'all will be out there, this weekend.
yes, we have a credit card machine warmed up and ready to go.
I'm just saying, there's some money out there,
Uh-huh.
and
Yeah.
at the Billfish tournament, that's what I'm talking
Oh, yeah.
about.
Yeah.
You know, we'd love to get out there and.
That's what I was gonna ask, if you were gonna be part of the Billfish tournament, and is there other
Yeah.
things like it that we can be a part of? And this is Angela, by the way.
Yeah, we will be there all 4 days, pending
Okay.
any sort of burnout. And we worked with the FSU Foundation to secure, a credit card machine. We have T-shirts and dry bags that we kind of try to entice smaller donations, but it can take as much as their credit card is willing to give.
Mhm.
Then working with, the foundation, Katie May, to kind of figure out how to have bigger conversations if someone does want to donate more than, in the future, so.
Mhm.
Hopefully, we're right across from the bar.
That's not a bad thing.
There you go.
So, hopefully we'll,
Location.
yeah. Yes,
Do you have a connection to Jennifer Vigil?
yes,
Okay.
yes, I've met with her, and Explore Northwest Florida also.
Okay. Yep.
And then I did have a conversation with Alex at the port, and he's willing to put that in front of his board for talking about contributing. So, starting to have the conversations. No one has slammed the door in my face yet. I think it will take that sort of first,
Yeah.
well, if so-and-so did it, okay, I'll do it.
Well, and going back to Pensacola, Purdue, they're about a year ahead, maybe a little bit more from this program, but they, that far ahead?
Yeah.
oh, wow.
Yeah.
So, and the way the sort of what happened there was that, the SRA program grew out of another program that was been there around for 20 years called Bay Area Resource Council. And Santa Rosa County, and it's Santa Rosa County, Escambia County, Gulf Breeze, Milton, and City, Pensacola were the 3 cities. And every year they would get like an average contribution, about $5,000 from each entity. And so when the SRA program was created, that's about the same amount that was coming in. But then once their CCMP was finalized and they started getting in the grants, several $1 million of grants, that return on investment that Jessica was talking about becomes more and more evident.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone feels, a little bit more comfortable saying, okay, this needs to be like a line item in the budget. And so what they did, and this was just recent, this was about 3 months ago, is they based it on population. So they looked at the populations in each of the cities and in the counties, and then did I don't remember.
50 cents.
50 cents a
Per
person. And as a way to try to be equitable, but, between, but there's gonna be that, I would expect the same kind of transition. And on that front, I mean, like Jessica said, a little over 3 million so far, but we've got a meeting in a couple of weeks with NOAA. And one of the grants that we didn't get last year was the NOAA transformational, which is about 4 million,
4.5
yeah,
requests.
4.5 million requests. We had a debrief a couple of weeks ago, and it was actually, I shouldn't say actually, it was a top-tier rated project. And the feedback that we got was, here's the tweaks to make, and you'll be very, very competitive. Well, the Florida person in charge is gonna be visiting up here in 2 weeks, and we're gonna be showing her around the different sites and what we wanna try to do. So those funds are the Federal Infrastructure Act funds, and so there are gonna be 4 more rounds of those coming out. So we're feeling pretty good that if not this round, well, this round, we're gonna get that funding. And we'll be more than 4 million, because that's the amount they're gonna have available. It's between 1 and 15 million. We put in for around 4. They're gonna increase the cap, so we'll probably add more funds. So I do think, we'll be talking in hopefully tens of millions here very soon in terms of what's the programs coming in. But that highlights the need that the ability to have staff time that's not allocated towards a grant becomes even more important to go after those kinds of project funds.
Have you thought about doing, kind of roundup, like when you go through the drive-throughs in some of these places?
I hadn't, yeah, that's a good idea. Like,
Not necessarily at a drive-through, but
yeah,
at an
yeah,
event or.
like you round up your scents.
Oh.
So that could be something that maybe we talk about with, National Estuaries Week, if they're willing to round up. We did last year, we partnered with, that's in September.
How do you do that? You just like approach them individually, or?
Yeah, the business.
You could check a box on a utility bill.
No, I mean, how do you get the
Or a whole city
entity to do it?
You have to go and talk.
Just
Yeah,
talk to the owner?
I don't know how they would track it, so we did partner with 4 or 5 restaurants last year during National Estuaries Week, and they gave like a 10% for a certain day, and we kind of pushed out, like, go support us through eating at this, establishment, and had just folks in St. Andrews is all we targeted, but we didn't target a large number.
How'd you do on that?
We got 5,000 in a week, I mean, that's, yeah.
Not bad.
But see,
Yeah.
somewhere that they have an event, that's a very large venue would really be.
Mhm.
But I know, just going through the drive-through the other day, one of them asked me, did I wanna round up, and I said, sure.
Yeah,
I think it was Burger King or
Okay.
somewhere.
For, like, St. Jude's does that a lot, like,
Yeah.
round up, or, there are some smaller organizations.
Veterans Day at the Red Clear. Veterans Day at the Red Clear.
Yeah.
There's thousands of folks come through.
Any big holiday like that, Father's Day.
We'd hit that one.
We need to hit that one, yeah, I agree. Although those ribs last
United
time,
Way.
Yeah, no, that's a good idea, I'll have to explore that.
A Golden Corral also for veterans.
That's a.
So I'm gonna go back. If there's other ideas, feel free to email, text. I'm all for ideas.
Now, can we use different grant to match this grant?
Match the current funds that we have?
Well, I'm thinking about the, event we went over to East Point, over the estuary.
the county, the one that we just applied for the district, the county counterpart, CPI.
Oh,
CPI. About that one, right?
yeah, I know what you're talking
I'm
about.
not sure if you can use a grant.
Oh, no, that's what
You
I'm
can,
asking.
as long as it's non-federal, so like our TNC
Yeah, federal,
grant.
right.
Yeah, but federal,
Yeah,
federal,
no,
you
federal you
can't.
can't.
And those
You have
all
to have it in the bank.
Some of them was, and some of them
You can use state
local,
grant or
state,
federal.
local.
Yeah, CPI.
What she was telling us over there, there's two different
Or like
sections she
non-federal
talked
with
about.
federal, like NGO. So like our TNC grant, it has to serve the same purpose. So like we could match a grant that funded operations with the TNC grant. Haven't allocated, but because it's technically a Bay County grant, we would have to get the approval from them to be able to do that. But we could do that, but additional grants that have come in have all been, the St. Joe Foundation would be one that we could probably use to match a federal grant that would do a seagrass nursery. So it has to be pretty specific to what the other grant is and within the same project period. So if you did design on something with state funds and the project period is over and then you wanna implement, generally you can't use that grant to match the new grant.
Through Chuck Purdue, when people register a boat or a jet ski or trailer, they have an option to check a box and
Yeah, that's been
donate or
talked
give
about.
$1 or something.
Yeah, to do like another $1 on like
Yeah.
a pontoon
So
road.
everybody who registers a boat in Bay County can add a little bit for the estuary program.
Yeah.
How do you do, the tax appraisers?
Yeah, it would go through Chuck Purdue, like when you get a license plate or when you get the numbers for your boat or something like that.
You know the process to get,
It's just like registering a vehicle, you know what I mean? You go through the Chuck Purdue, you know.
no, I meant, how do you
Like
get
get it on
yourself
there.
added to the,
I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just saying that would be
yeah,
an option to present yourself.
Now,
I
it's
think
funny,
that's
you
good.
mentioned pontoon rentals. Any other watercraft rentals?
You know, we talked about that last.
And the reason I'm saying that.
Just, there's so much trading hands on stuff that's asymptotic to what the program does.
Yep.
You would think that you could, you know, get there where you can check a box when you're registering or when you're making a rental. That's so much of it.
I know we were up in Atlanta and we rented a pontoon on Lake Altoona this past. I had to watch a 10-minute video.
Oh, yeah. It's coming.
10-minute
I guarantee
video.
you it's coming.
To be
Yep.
able to do that. You don't have to do that here, that's obvious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many places that do it, and yes, it's a little bit of a list, but even, like, we rented an RV and had to watch, it was not 10 minutes, it was like 30 minutes of how to use your RV before you could drive off of it, and.
We could put something on there, you know, about the grass, there's all kind of stuff we could add on there and condense it into 10 minutes. 10 minutes was plenty.
Yeah.
Because
Oh, yeah,
I
right.
knew, you know, everything on there, but,
Right,
you know.
yeah.
It was very, that person had never driven a boat, a little 10-minute would give them,
Comfort level.
it would,
Yeah.
yeah, it would.
Even just like, hey, it's shallow.
Yeah.
Like that's the first.
You can see the grass.
But yeah, if we could partner with some of the pontoon just companies that rent them to put you know, $1 on each rental. I mean, that's probably $100 a weekend that, you know, we could, they would have to, of course, we'd have to figure out a way to secure and whatever. But if they're willing to partner with us, then I think that could be a start.
now, how would that work on your end? Would that go through the foundation side?
Yeah, I would have to go through the foundation, as long as money's coming in to the foundation and it's for the programs, they don't seem to have any issues. But if I'm trying to partner with like City of Panama City to get a grant to them, but we're not getting anything, they do not like that. So, they don't really wanna use the foundation as like a grant scheme.
It's a grant grab.
Right. I
But
mean,
you
they
support municipal projects and stuff like
Mhm.
right there, you know, when we're trying to get that, land converted to regional stormwater and stuff like that.
Yes, that one's up there. So this
Yeah.
table was trying to highlight work that's being done without really the estuary program fully involved in it. And so that, you know, enhancing 30 acres in the stormwater wetland in Lynn Haven, that's a perfect example of like your staff are doing, you know, most of the work, Daryl and I are involved, but we're not pushing the paper, we're not getting a lot of it, making a few connections. But then some of this stuff, like scaling up nature-based solutions, the SUNS project, that was started before I ever came on board.
Right.
So it's trying to highlight, like, look at all of these projects that are addressing our actions, that this is why you have, you know, the connections, the conduit, you know, the estuary program is keeping tabs on all of this stuff and showing how it meets these actions to show improvement.
Give yourself a little more credit.
Don't leave yourself short.
Yeah, I mean,
I agree.
I was I've been involved in some day one, but the day she started, she was out there with me at every one of those meetings, and so yeah. That's why I think we are as far as we are in a lot of these projects. Somebody is a lot better with details than other people.
Yes, she does.
Yeah, no, that. I think there's a lot of work that's up there that would not be up there had we not had Jessica and her team in place.
When the Daily Development and Finance Committee is looking at this table and seeing what else, you know, needs to be in here as well, 'cause like some of the voluntary home buyout stuff, septic to sewer transitions, I don't have every single one of those on here, but is Lynn Haven doing voluntary home buyouts? Thought they were.
Maybe our CRA is, they were doing, doesn't have to be green space if they sell the home or something.
It has to turn into green
It has
space.
to turn into
Yeah.
green space.
Nice
I think
detention
that's-
pond.
I think that's,
Yeah.
I mean, our CRA director is involved with that.
Ben?
So-
Okay.
No, Ben.
Yeah, Ben
Johnson.
Jackson.
Yeah, Ben. Yeah. I believe that's his program.
Okay. 'Cause I keep saying Lynn Haven, someone keeps telling me I'm wrong.
Yeah, no,
I see it in my neighborhood.
Within,
When it
it's
rains,
gotta be
so.
within the CRA,
Okay.
which is like a nine blocks from the Bailey Bridge to 17th Street, on either side of 77.
So does Bel Air Estates qualify?
Bel Air doesn't go to, it's 17th Street.
17.
So, yeah, from like, just before the
Is the
McDonald's.
Restore Act, that's part of the Triumph Gulf Coast money.
No, well,
Well,
Same or different?
it's
I'm just, I'm
it's
running
coming
through
out
my
of
mind where we
Deepwater.
can get money from.
Yeah. So Deepwater Horizon had different funding streams. So Triumph is the
One of the,
economic payment to Florida from BEP. So there was, I think that was $2 billion. 75% of that is supposed to go to, the Panhandle. Okay? And the Triumph board says how that money will be spent.
that's where I'm wondering if we need.
Yeah, their focus is projects that will result in jobs. And they've got a formula and there's clawbacks to make sure that the project that they fund does indeed generate as many jobs as they said.
well, and that's what, I've talked with, Dean Hanna a little bit and Banyan here on FSU about how to message the SRA program to jobs and the economic analysis that we have that's being completed. Shows, you know, within a half mile buffer of the SRA program, there's 55,000 jobs. So, you know, you gotta have those businesses and tourism dollars that are coming in,
Right.
like, all of that
I
is
was wondering how we could
contingent,
connect
yeah.
it to tourism
yeah.
dollars is what I'm.
All of that is contingent upon our resources being sustained. And so if they're not, you're not gonna have the tourism, your jobs are gonna go down. And so I think there's a way to do it. It's just talking to the right.
Okay, let me discuss that with Dan
Okay.
Rowe, he's about that.
Okay. Anything else? I think I was all. Okay, before I move on to
Well,
finance,
Could you go back to that one?
yeah,
So are those bottom, so theoretically, best case from your perspective, if the local governments and unrestricted grants, that's the target that you need on that bottom line?
yes, to
Each
meet
year?
the ratios and the,
Okay,
so to meet a 20% general fund for me, 10% for Ryan, and then that's it for the first year, we would need 47,000.
so you're looking at, if you just split it equally between everybody, $4,700 from each local government in their next budget.
If you split it equally.
No,
Yeah.
yeah.
But yes.
I was just trying to put it into,
Yeah. And then this, you know, some of those numbers are because we have been so successful with grants. And so we do have, like, Ryan and I are at that grant funding already. We have more in the hopper.
does that include,
No,
okay.
does not include the NOAA one. And then the growth, so the last three, when in the finance strategy, I kind of lay out staff growth of ideally, when we get more projects, then we're gonna need a program manager that's running these projects so that I'm not writing reports all day long every day for the grants. Staff scientists to help out, so starting out half-time off of grants, going into full-time off of grants, and that's the science demands on Ryan right now. There's so much we can do, but not enough time to do it. And even once we get this, PCMP off of our books, we have other stuff that's coming on board, and so it's trying to get additional support for analyses to then inform the decision and inform the projects. And then education is talked about a lot. There's still a lot going on already, so trying to understand what is existing and then what we can support rather than start creating a bunch of things. So that's why we have it starting out, 2026. Now that one is a little more opportunistic. If we get a grant for an education program and we have a partner that's like, we really need this, let's go for it, we can do that. But just thinking more, once we get our ducks in a row and really start getting more of these projects implemented and designed, then we can start looking at these education.
So, going back to the legislative topic, so currently, there's like two options, because you got a grant from Bay County, and then you're hosted by FSU. From a legislative aspect perspective, one of those two would sort of have to be the requester and fit in with their priorities.
Right.
Have y'all ever, talking about the cities and the counties, worked together on usually you have your own legislative priorities, I'm assuming, that you try to advocate for. Have you ever worked together on a legislative ask? Has that ever happened?
Not that I'm aware of.
Is there any issues that you see with that? I mean, that's a loaded question, I'm just trying to, I'm an out-of-the-box kind of guy, I gotta ask.
Well, it would be more of a competition.
Well, that's what I'm, yeah.
Yeah. And the way I've worked in the past, or last year, is, Bay County asked for projects that we were seeing coming out of this, and so I put them in. I don't think any of them made it past, like, Bay County's priorities. And then FSU, we put in with a couple other priorities, at least from Panama City's campus, and then that goes up to Tallahassee's, right? Yeah, so then it has to make it through the rest of that as well.
Well, maybe go back to the original strategy, which the three ESPRI programs, maybe approach it from their angle, that way it's not all in a.
I think after we sit back and see how new elected officials are gonna do, we might be able to get a team together, but right now, it's a lot unknown.
Yeah.
Like we got one city that don't wanna have anything to do with nobody. I think it's a sit back and wait and see.
Yeah, okay.
I would love to work with the other cities and counties, but others don't see it that way.
Right.
Yeah, there's several of us like that.
Jim, you have your hand up?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that, right now, state agencies will start to put their budgets together, and if we want it to go through the state agency and get the support, we shouldn't sit back, we should go ahead and try to formulate something and put an ask out there. It does not have to preclude doing something later with our legislators, or, something totally different later. But if we think we have some idea of something that would appeal to DEP and or the Water Management District, we should go ahead and start putting together and talking with them so that they can include that within their budget request.
Got it, yeah.
Great point, and Sean is from the Panhandle, so that may not be a bad conversation to have.
And that's kind of.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's why I was bringing it up. It's an early
Yeah.
legislative year, so it's.
And I think that's to your point of going to the 3 estuary programs and trying to
Right.
approach it, it would have to go
Yep.
through state agency.
Maybe schedule a meeting with, see if you can get a meeting with Sean and y'all three go sit down with them and have a chat. Because I think you're showing a lot of success in the short time the 3 programs have been around. And so there's not as much question, I think, to, are we investing in something worthy? So I think it's about the right time for that kind of a conversation.
And I think we kind of peppered them already by presenting to your board, and
Right.
staff at least knows a little as well, and I think there's more excitement around.
And I think, you know, everybody knows how much money the Water Management District has, and, you know, it's just flowing out of their pockets, but their
Mhm.
support for requests from another, source, and whether it's DEP or the district willing to serve as the conveyor of those grants to the program, that's an important part. And so, you know, Darrell's here at the meetings, he knows what's going on. I think that the water management districts in general are very supportive. And so whether we get any money from them or not, and it's probably or not, having them be able to serve as a supporter and a potential conduit is important.
Right. Well, and that's the idea, is that this, get away from the each year having to do a legislative ask. It just becomes a, you know, part of the DEP budget that, and I don't know how the X-ray programs, I would guess that's going through DEP every year, but I don't know. But it's, again,
Yeah, I think it is probably.
yeah. So I think that would be a good thing for the 3 X-ray programs to go see if they can get a spot with Sean and have a chat.
I'm really good at making meetings. Okay, any last thoughts on that before we move on? Well, thank you all for those discussions, and, you know, if there's something you need from me going into your meetings, let me know and I can get it together. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, we've been really focused on one section of the CCMP. There are multiple other sections, and so I just wanted to briefly touch, this is on page 52, briefly touch on the fact that we are making progress and working on other things as well. And so there's some things in red that really haven't been started, like the next steps and executive summary. Those I usually do last anyway. But overview, writing, so these things in orange have been started, they just haven't been put out to a committee for review. And then anything in yellow, it's either been reviewed once or twice or 3 times, but it's not final yet. And so green is where things have been reviewed and is pretty close to final. So the committees will be working on approving these things, hopefully in July, and then that will come to you all in August. And basically final, we would publish this tomorrow if we had to form. So that's June committee reviews, July committee approvals, August is your approval and public meetings. So we do want to launch kind of a, here's your CCMP public meeting in September. We're talking about doing it in conjunction with National Estuaries Week, raising awareness of the program as well as what we're doing, why estuaries are important, go eat at these places for lunch, all of the fun. And then meanwhile, we should be selecting a design company or a company to design it into something fancier. Right now, it's just Word documents. We do our best to make it easy to review, but it's just Word documents from some scientists. And so a design company will be selected, and we had one, and then we've identified another. We're just waiting on guidance from FSU on what I'm allowed to do. And then hopefully that will move quickly, and then they'll start working on stuff. So the schedule is still to fully approve and launch February 2024, so we are on track as of right now. Questions on that?
There'll be another public type workshop in September.
Yes. We're trying
You wanna advertise that and talk about it when you come to each city and stuff like that.
Yes, we don't have a date. I think it's really just up to Ryan and I to actually say, yes, we could. Yes. And, you know, with some changes recently, it's just making sure we commit to it and plan for it. We also need to check, Hal and Raphael had offered to help us out with that and making sure that they are available to support, and then what days and coordinating with them, if that's still an option for them. And so we haven't checked back in with them. And thinking about the format, we've had it very workshop, we need something from you format. This is so much information that we're trying to figure out if town hall type thing or open house, I should say, would be a better way of doing it. But having more people there to speak to the things would be more important because 2 or 3 people can only make it. So, all of those details. All right, moving into STEM committee updates.
So we just had our meeting last week, actually, I forgot to update this slide. But in, May, we had a scallop restoration presentation, and we also heard about Tyndall Resiliency Project updates, so that was really interesting. And then the committee is also working through how we're gonna measure progress. So looking to get to something like indicators that can tell us what affecting preserving a bay, making progress on our desired outcomes. That's what we've been working on the last 2 meetings. And then we just had a stormwater work group meeting last week as well, and we had Dr. Evan Bean from IFAS join us. We're gonna pilot stormwater sensors at 6 locations throughout watershed to kind of help us identify when tailwater conditions are occurring. And so we spent most of that meeting talking about that and then identifying some potential locations. I'm working with staff to figure out, staff from the municipality, figure out some images, pictures from the something like that, at different spots. We've got some potential locations in City of Panama City and Lynn Haven. Follow up with the other, usually the beach is involved, but they weren't able to make it to the call. Yeah. And then Parker usually participates. Yeah. Send out a follow-up just to make sure we have like 12 already. So, but again, it's just a pilot to see if these work, if they're useful, and it gives the end user a dashboard where you can see real time the water level and be able to know. I'm looking at source of flooding too, so it could be tidal, storm surge flooding. So if Lynn Haven has some issues, Chris was saying about high tide flooding inland, and so this can help look at that. There's also, they're exploring a potential to be able to bring in maps into the dashboard that you can get on your phone, that could be like, okay, we need to go over here or something like that.
Draw down Davis Lake and do different rain coming.
Yeah.
This is very cool, because going back to one of the original focuses of the policy board was stormwater. And so we were able to connect, even though it's UF, but we gotta work with everybody. That's they've got these sensors that are really, really inexpensive that are, so it's gonna be both a public works kind of tool to get ahead of these storms, so hopefully increase capacity, because you're monitoring it in real time. So this is like, right now, you look at the website and this is exactly how much water is in that stormwater pipe.
It can give you alerts too, so if there's a rain event and. Yeah, he can set it up to send text messages, email, whatever people want. Be cool to pilot it.
Yeah, and rolling out, you know, as the CCMP is getting finalized, so it's another, you know, here, we're not even having CCMP out yet, and we've got a public interaction tool that I think is gonna make a real difference in people's lives from a flood perspective.
Yeah,
or reduction of flooding.
Yeah. Well, and it'll help identify where, you know, priority resources should be devoted. And so this is just a pilot to understand if y'all like it, and then if so, then you can purchase additional. So there were some grant funds to be able to purchase these and just try it out before you guys had to devote funding to it. But they're fairly inexpensive, and they're
About 330 for just the water level sensors, but if you wanted to put water quality monitoring, stuff like salinity and temperature, then the price is about 1,000 %.
this is indicated.
And then the other thing we've been working on is water quality report card with St. Andrew Bay Watch's data. So just trying to help them produce something that's more user-friendly, graph, and hopefully we'll be able to kind of transition to working on that a little more.
Yeah.
And then coupled with that is making a water quality dashboard as well. Kind of
Wow.
click on the
It's not busy at all. Used to do T-shirts like that. Wow.
You're gonna need that may cause, what am I thinking, seizures.
Oh, my goodness.
Seizure warning report.
Yeah, so you can like click around, and so this is one of them that's clicked, and then it looks a little bit more readable, but.
Yeah, so this is an app that we have access to at being, and we can actually publish this on our website and make it publicly available, so then anyone could go around and look at it, so.
So there's your nitrogen problem, Grand Lagoon.
There we go.
Well, and that's the,
Room for
that's,
improvement.
that's the idea, well, but even so,
That's why the trout grows so big.
and have two heads. But, yeah, but that's the idea, is the more you can make this data sort of more real time and in a consumable format, it helps you guys say, this is why we need money to be able to do these projects.
Yeah.
And-
But, you know, Jessica's been doing an amazing job taking the show on the road, so to speak. And, she came down Rotary Club, Pat can recall, and I've seen her present in front of the Dean Council, came to the, what month was that for? First Friday? Optimus, yeah.
Chamber.
Extremely well received. I mean, it really exposes people who've been living here for a long time to a lot of things that they just didn't know. Like, whoa, I didn't know that.
And this is usually one of their first questions in the audience is water quality.
Yeah.
What's the grade for water quality? Well.
Where are you drinking water from?
Yeah.
I didn't know it came from Deer Point Lake.
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Right.
I've been here 60 years.
Yeah.
And people just, they don't know what they don't know.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
Yep.
All right, so Community Action Committee. So we relaunched the newsletter, so you should all be receiving it. If you're not, check your quarantine box, your junk box. Let us know if you're not, we can make sure to, get you on there.
You don't get it.
You're not getting it? Okay,
Okay, I'm either.
okay.
So I was looking in my junk folder and it wasn't there. And every night, if you're on Outlook, you'll get messages in quarantine, that's where I found mine.
Okay.
So,
I'm scared to click on that, I'll be
Yeah.
honest with you.
They're gonna jump out.
Yeah, my IT guy is just all over us. I mean,
Yeah.
don't do this, don't click on that, don't. I mean,
yeah, it'll list the
Here.
emails that it considers junk, and that's where I found that, and so you can click on it and say, this one's okay, and then you'll start getting it normally.
Okay.
So the best way to do it is like ask them to send it, so you know when it's coming in.
And then I'm going to sit down with my IT
And-
guy.
Yeah, it'll be
You push that,
launched,
not me.
yeah. It'll go out the 30th of this month to get ahead of July. So July's newsletter will hit the 30th.
So like the invites for these meetings, I'm not kidding.
Really?
I do, she don't.
He'll come in and say, we got this tomorrow, and I'm like,
That's a control thing, you just.
Oh,
Okay, well, I will look
I
into
can't
that.
control the one at home, but.
I know. Well, it's like any win we can get.
it may be 'cause I'm not
not voting, so I don't know.
Well,
They sit down there.
yeah, I'll look at it. Okay, past outreach events, we were at the Make a Waves Earth Day, Urchin Roundup, Idea Camp, I did a presentation, that was a fun group. Then Tourism Appreciation Day, Brittany attended, we didn't do a booth there, just because they kinda told us, well, no, you'll be the only booth if you do a booth, and so we're like, well, that's weird, we don't wanna do that,
But it ended up being pretty good.
yeah, I think it would have been. And then we went to the CCA meeting this past weekend where I gave a presentation, Darryl gave a presentation. That's the Southern Gulf Social Community Association, yeah. Learned a few statistics that were interesting about like how much of the property tax is paid by the Cape Sandblast folks in Gulf County and all of that, so it was interesting. Senator Corey Simon was there, so I was able to meet him, he covers, Gulf and over. We will be at Billfish, Bay Point South, whatever it's called, Billfish Tournament all for the rest of the week.
Starting in a couple hours.
Yeah, gotta get out there. There is a scallop roundup that FWC is hosting right near Uncle Ernie's on July 15th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. to get scallops so that they can put them in cages to be able to reproduce and get more scallops. So last year, I think they only had like 5 people show up.
Oh.
So you can register, and that link will go out in our newsletter, so hopefully, I will make sure to forward the newsletter to the policy board group, so that hopefully you'll at least know that you'll be able to see it, 'cause I think it should come.
That'd be fun to do, just to,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah, Saturday, so
And
they're
they're opening
check-in.
it, right?
What?
Uncle Ernie?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You can check in, it's the pavilion right there, so you have Uncle Ernie's Boat Launch Pavilion there, you can check in there, and then, they'll give you the stuff, and they have a cool little scallop sorter thing that's like plexiglass with the size of a scallop that you're supposed to limit to take. It's pretty,
Like crabbing, you know what I mean?
that's right.
Send this catch.
And then upcoming presentations, as I mentioned, Lynn Haven Commission, July 11th at 9, Panama City Beach Council, July 13th at 6 p.m. So if you have nothing better to do, please come support the program at those meetings. I think Lynn Haven is it 3 minutes for you guys too? They told me with Lynn Haven I have 3 minutes.
No, you have 10 minutes.
Okay. I get 3 minutes.
Personally, you can do whatever you wanna do.
Yeah.
You just tell me how long you want it to be. and
10 minutes is totally
Okay.
fine. I asked,
I'll arrange that.
I was like,
Why don't they
hey,
make an agenda item and give you more than 3 minutes?
I don't know, I asked,
I'll put you on this presentation. so-
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, we can do.
I asked, Vicky and CJ, and
Yeah,
I asked if they wanted.
That's public commentary, but if you were on the agenda, you talk to, Vicky.
I mean, I can talk fast, I can
Right.
get it done in 3 minutes, but.
Well, I mean,
Sorry, but
Stop. You're the talker.
I don't believe it either.
I don't wanna be cutting you off, you know?
Well, the way I know,
Yeah,
like, Gulf
I-
County's the same way, even if they do a presentation, you still only get 3 minutes, and with one renewal of 2 more minutes, so you have a maximum of 5 minutes to do your presentation, so it didn't
Wow.
surprise me.
So what would be important is what information you leave with them.
Yeah.
Sure.
That's something that,
I mean,
that's
but you're
not something
asking,
that's gonna take them forever
You're-
to
you're-
digest
I
it,
mean,
but something that's got a good
would you be
hook.
bringing
Mhm.
slides and stuff and?
That's what when I
Mhm.
asked them.
Communications at
Mhm.
Lynn Haven, I mean,
Mhm.
I will go and advocate for you to have a presentation versus a public comment.
Right,
Mhm.
and that's what I've.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, 'cause I asked them about if they wanted my slides by a certain date to
Yeah.
get it in your board book, and
Yeah,
they're like,
communi-
just to clarify, you have 3 minutes. I'm like,
But you should always have your elevator speech ready.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so I may send you the PowerPoint ahead of time just
Yeah.
to see if you.
Yeah, communications at City of Lynn Haven is the website too. They get it, they'll have it beforehand, and
Yeah.
they could make it public or have it ready for you to do.
Mhm. And then Community Action Committee, working on a teen outreach committee. So there's a student at Rutherford that wanted to do something. I've had another student actually today email about, so there's a lot of students, high school level students that want to get involved. So trying to, the student asked about doing a teen outreach board, because we're Sunshine, we had to kind of inform what Sunshine means, and you can't just select people to be on this board, you have to make it open, and so she's still interested in doing it. And then, the Community Action Committee will continue to work on the other sections as well. Development of Finance. We've been looking at the finance strategy and then some of the open and future opportunities, just an update on grant proposals. There were 7 grant proposals from this area, Bay and Gulf County, that were submitted to National Coastal Resiliency Fund. None of them got moved forward to a full proposal, not a single one. They weren't all submitted by me, so it's not just me. Not a single one. We did not get asked for a full proposal for America the Beautiful either. We are awaiting Treasury approval for Bay County's Restore Amendment that has 3 projects for our program, or that will be facilitated by our program in them.
Do you have a hunch as to why there was no feedback, there was just a no-go?
I think it's Washington DC politics. But I really have no idea. Some of the feedback that I heard, so there were some Kindle projects that got in there and they didn't get asked, which was surprising to me, but some of the comments, it sounds like there wasn't enough down on their current grants for them to want to put other grants in, so.
Not enough drawdown.
Some of our other, like, there was one project that I was shocked was not forwarded because they had told me their priorities are coastal hazards. So anything that's gonna make you more resilient from coastal hazards, so storms and whatnot. And then flooding and stormwater was really low, and then underserved communities. But there was one project in Gulf County that was doing dune renourishment, forest renourishment, all of that, and it did not get asked either. So the other projects were a little bit less nature-based solution or more flooding. So those ones didn't surprise me as much, but that one in Gulf County surprised me. But, NIFLIS is, I've been dealing with NIFLIS for a long time, and they are shifty. They're shifty.
Well, I've never heard that term. Wow. Shifty.
They shift their priorities very quickly before they finish they usually go on this 5-year thing, where it's a 5-year planning, they're gonna put funding to these different planning efforts for 5 years, with the promise of taking them to implementation, but then they'll shift their priority before they go to the implementation. So, been dealing with them for a while.
But I think we've got great opportunities with NOAA.
Yeah, agreed. So that actually brings me to this one. So we do have new grant proposal plans. There's a new NOAA opportunity out called the Climate Resiliency Regional Challenge. We've talked with the other SRA programs as potentially putting in a joint project together. Haven't really flushed that out, but we'll probably do something. There's a letter of intent process, which always makes things a lot easier to throw something together and see what sticks. And that's one great thing about the NIFLS stuff too, is that they're 2-page applications. So it's not like it takes that much time to put together a 2-page application.
Get a whole staff sometimes to do applications.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. NOAA Transformational Habitat, that's the one that Daryl had mentioned earlier, had really great debrief call with them, know what to fix, and relook at some of the projects, but, the Lynn Haven projects that we had put into that will go back in, and I have a meeting with Margaret, the new grant person, scheduled to kinda make sure that that is what you guys want to see in there. I think it was McKitchen's Bayou and Living Shorelines were Lynn Haven ones. NOAA Underserved Community Grant, thinking about one of the Sweet Bay projects potentially, which is in City of Panama City, getting that forwarded to like 60% design. And then SDEP's Resilient Grant Program.
Go back.
What?
And Jess was critical in getting the Port St. Joe, we got a underserved community grant to do an H&H study for the North Port, well, actually for all of Port St. Joe. But there's several grants that have come into that community, and the missing piece is understanding how much, where the water's coming from and how much from each source. So we worked together to basically write the grant for the city, and the city, well, I think she almost hit send as well. And so we got that grant, and that should be starting off here in the next month or so, and that'll provide the science that we need to design the solutions. So, a lot of kudos there. That would not have happened without her assistance.
Then the SDEP Resilient Florida Grant Program, that opens July 1. This is the last year that municipalities can put in projects without having a vulnerability assessment completed. So if you have infrastructure projects, anything to make your city more resilient, this is the year to get it in. That portal opens July 1st and closes in September 1st. So, it's a weird kind of application, but it's not as difficult. Jim?
Yeah, I just want to clarify that as far as the final year before the vulnerability assessment, but the county and the municipalities are working on a vulnerability assessment that will be in place or should be in place to where the municipalities and county will be eligible for funds next year for that application round as well.
Yeah, thank you. So yes, as an update, FSU Tallahassee is working with Bay County to complete a vulnerability assessment that includes all of the municipalities in Bay County apart from Lynn Haven and City of Panama City because they have their own. So y'all should have contracted out.
We have our own vulnerability study.
Yes, that a contract company is doing, and I can't remember who.
Through DEO, contracted with a company to grants. Economic opportunity.
This would have been DEP's.
Vulnerability assessment.
Yeah. It's another, I can't, if someone said it, I would know it, but I think Chris said it's contractor is working on doing the vulnerability. City of Panama City is doing half, and you guys are doing, not Panhandle, it might be Dewberry.
Dewberry, Eric Pitts.
Eric Pitts.
You know Eric. That's how Eric.
Yeah.
We want hit you.
One and only.
But yes, once that is completed, then the projects that are identified in that vulnerability assessment will be what you would then use the next year's funds for, for the Florida Resilient Grant Program. So the idea of the vulnerability assessment is that you run these certain models for future risk, and then it identifies your critical infrastructure that is at the highest risk based on the impact from storm events, rain events, et cetera. Then that will give you your list of projects or list of infrastructure to upgrade, whether that be raising a lift station, decommissioning a wastewater treatment plant, whatever it is. Those projects would be identified that then could be moved forward to funding.
In particular, if you have any shovel-ready resilient projects, like a stormwater project or something like that, take a serious look at those grants.
And so, lastly, I kind of touched on this, but this is just to zoom in where we are right now. So moving into September, having that public input workshop in September. We'll be addressing public comments in October, and then you guys will be approving any changes, major changes. We won't give you like edit changes to approve, some major changes to actions or anything in the CCMP in October. And then kind come December, we're hoping for you all to be able to approve both like the fancy drafts as well as any changes in content that resulted. And then we'll push it out in February. We'll have meetings after that, but they probably won't be every other month. That will shift more into strategic, figure out how we're gonna make this happen. So other business, I wanted to just briefly bring up, which I don't think we need a formal vote on this, but the STEM committee has requested to change their name to the Science and Technical Committee. Every time I give a presentation, people think STEM is education. Every single time. And so they want to get involved in the STEM committee, but then they realize it is a bunch of scientists. Yeah, and they're like, oh, so I need to do the Community Action Committee. So they overwhelmingly agreed to change, that they wanted to change the name, and we landed somewhat on the Science and Technical Committee. So that will move. As I stop saying STEM, it'll start moving into science.
We'll make that motion if needed.
I don't think we have any quorum anymore, but,
You do what you need to do.
yeah. And then, I sent out that email, we did have recent staff changes, so thank you to Brittany for everything that she did. We'll be pushing that position out hopefully next week, working on the PD and it routing through HR, but since it won't change a whole lot, it should be an easy release and getting interviews and getting someone on board quickly.
You know qualified people,
Mhm.
encourage them to apply.
I'm not sure. Okay, and
Good to
then
see you.
I have a slide in here for policy board
I see
update,
you there.
if you all have anything you wanna update this group about. If not, we'll move forward. Okay? That's it.
Thank you.
Hope you all have a safe fourth, and come see us.
30 more minutes.
We have to go to the.
I know, we have to get there, or we will not be able to park.
Yeah.
That's true.
Thank y'all so much for being here today.
I can read a room.
Thanks very much. Bye, everyone.
Good, everybody.
Thank you. Goodbye.